So I was hoping that someone here might be trying to make a decision that they would be willing to share with us. Yes, Maggie.
Okay. I got invited to join this premier entrepreneurial networking society, but it costs $7,500. So I need to decide if I want to raise this money to join.
Anybody else want to share a big decision? Good.
I'm trying to decide if I should stay here or move back home to be near to my mother.
Okay.
I second that.
I'm trying to decide if I should go to medical school or get a PhD in neuroscience.
So how many of you people here think these are easy decisions to make? I would like some reflection from the questioners or from anyone on what makes those decisions hard.
Too many options.
Too many options? Go back.
Opinions, feeling lots of opinions from people.
Too many people outside you thinking that they know how you should make your decision?
Yeah, I think those are hard.
Or just loving you and hoping that they can help you make your
Yeah,
decision?
just opinions.
Sure. We'll go there and there.
I think the unknowns of like what your future will hold, like how things will turn out in the end.
A lot of unknowns.
Fear of making the wrong decision.
Fear of
And
making
how
the
to live
wrong
with that.
decision.
Your decision might not just affect yourself, it can affect other people in your life as well.
Your decision may affect other people. We've got other people are trying to affect your decision. You're afraid it's going to affect them. You don't know how it's going to turn out. There's lots of options. What if you choose the wrong one?
I feel like I'm living in two different worlds, like the family world and the work world.
Right, so there might be things that are better in the family world if you make one decision and better in the other world if you make the other decision. It makes it really hard. You're trading things off.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There are different factors with the decision, and they're not equal. They're not something you just put up. You say, oh yes, this is the right decision. Or what affects one decision one way may affect the other, another decision in a different way.
And they can be very hard to quantify.
Yes.
I think those are all excellent points about how decision-making can be hard. I will tell you that what what Leo mostly is going to talk about tonight, I'll sit in the corner and cry because that's usually my contribution to our decision making. That Leo's going to, so Leo is my husband. He is an MBA. We met when I was in medical school and he was in business school. There was an intramural volleyball game, and the medical school team, as you might imagine, was highly outclassed. The business school team had a guy who was a Stanford All-American. My team had me, who was not. But I did smash the ball in Leo's face, and then he asked me. So I knew I got the right guy. Anyway, Leo has spent the last 25 years consulting on quality decision-making. He worked for 15 years with a company called Strategic Decision Group, the ultimate geeks of geek in consulting companies. And then about 12 years ago went out on his own and teaches classes on decision-making for executives, also does consulting for companies, and is the author of a fabulous book, Rethink, Reinvent, Reposition, 12 strategies to renew your business and boost your bottom line. Remember the Rethink, Reinvent, Reposition part. It's got some really good, it's got a lot of the information that we're going to talk about tonight. So that is Leo. Leo's going to talk about this process of decision-making. Decision-making can be very painful. I will say with Leo's process, the pain is all up front. It's very hard when you're initiating it. You have to think about things that are uncomfortable. Because one of the things that makes decision-making hard is there's things you don't want to deal with, so you choose not to deal with them, and they make you make the wrong decision. So Leo makes you deal with all the issues that there could possibly be. It's very painful up front. I do often end up actually crying when we're starting the process of making decisions. However, once he's gotten you through his traffic light and everything's green, it is so easy to make a decision because it's so obvious what the decision is, and you can just make the decision and move forward and not even have to worry or second guess about whether it was the right one. So pain up front, but really looks great in the end. So Leo, if you would like to get started.
Thank you very much. Next slide. Page on
Did I
down.
manage it? No. There you go.
I'm going to present a real decision that Harriet and I faced. And I'm going to show you 4 tools that you can use on any decision you're talking about, in terms of whether to take a fellowship, whether to pay $7,500, all these things. These are the general tools I use on basically any decision. But before we start that, the world fights against you making decisions. And it fights against you in a very nasty way. It throws options your way that you may or may not like. Now, the $7,500 thing, did you go seek that out, or was that, how did that come up?
No, I didn't seek it out, but it's the most amazing opportunity.
But it's interesting, she didn't seek it out. See, here's what happened. The world tosses these opportunities at you, and you find yourself reacting to things. Give you an example. Harry, my best friend, husband and wife, both physicians. Husband was in private practice, anesthesiologist. He was getting a little bored. He's doing the same thing again and again. And he starts to wonder, maybe it's the time to shake things up a bit. And out of the blue, he didn't ask for it, out of the blue, a med school classmate called him up and said, I'm running a hospital down in Orlando, Florida, and I'll double whatever you're making now, come work for me. If someone says double your salary, they get your attention. Flies down there, great hospital, the economics are strong, the money's there, nice facilities. It's pretty good. Flies his wife out there. She checks out, they can get her a job, she's a physician as well. They start looking at houses, thinking about things. And it seems like all the stars are coming together because his sister lives in Orlando. And for years they wanted to be in the same city so they can get the cousins to play together. And so they're starting to look at houses and they're this close to deciding to move to Orlando. But they're a little nervous about it. Finally, we talked to him, what's going on? I said, well, you know, I don't like my sister that much. My wife hates humidity, which is what Orlando is nothing but. And never in our lives would we ever considered moving to Orlando. So they were this close to saying yes to something that they would never have sought out. Because they were reacting. Raise your hand, how many people have had to react to a decision? Something gets tossed at you and you have to react to it. And it starts to get momentum, and it feels like you have to fight it off. As opposed to saying the flip side, which is, if you're thinking about a move, what kind of move would make sense for you, and then go out and find if such a move exists. And I'm going to show you the tools to do that. And rather than explain the tools and have a boring lecture, I'm going to present a real decision that Harriet and I faced, and here it was. When Harriet finished her medical residency, and when I made partner in my consulting firm, we took a 400-day trip around the world, 14 months, went to 29 countries. That was our business card. You open it up, and it had the map on it. You flip it over, it had our picture and address so people could stay in touch afterwards. There's a bunch of, we've got a couple hundred pages, about 2,000 pictures up on it. But the help I need is, we've been outside the country now for 12 months. We got to find a place to live. And we got to do it fast. Next slide. Now, we started off, we lived in San Francisco at the time. And we started off with a 1-month driving trip. We went from San Francisco up through Canada to Washington, D.C., where we left our car with our aunt, with my aunt. We had then been outside the U.S., 12 months, 27 different countries. We come back on the night of August 20th, and we've got 5 days, August 21st to the 25th, to find a place to live. Then we're going to fly out to Washington, D.C., pick up the car, and then drive on the southern route to the national parks, back to San Francisco. We'll arrive on October 2nd, and then we got 2 weeks before our jobs start up again. So we got to move fast, and we got to get a good place to live. Next slide. Just a couple of additional details here. Oh, next slide. Harriet was an anesthesiologist. She was on UCSF. If you've ever been up to University of California, San Francisco, it's right on Golden Gate Park, up in the city. I was a full-time management consultant, and one of my partners had just sold a job with one of my old clients in New Zealand, so I was heading down to New Zealand for 3 weeks to kick off the project. And 50% of the decision team made it clear to the other 50% he would not be stepping foot on a plane until we moved in and settled. So we got to move fast. Next. How many people have been to San Francisco? Most people get there sometime, lovely place, live there for 20 years. And I'll give you just a quick introduction to the city. I worked down in Palo Alto, right where Stanford is. Harriet worked up just north of the fog belt up in UCSF. There's sort of 2 main thoroughfares, north-south in San Francisco. There's 101, which goes in the flats, sort of industrial. 280, which goes up in the hills. Get a view, goes by the San Andreas Fault. You may not know you can choose your weather in San Francisco. It's how much weather can you afford. because the fog is trapped inside the physical features of the city. And there's a huge fog belt. There's a place here called Daly City, one of the worst places to live in the country. 350 days a year it's fogged in. Drive 2 miles in any direction, brilliant sun. Okay? So that's sort of the setup. Now there's 6.8 million people live in the Bay Area. That's going up through Sausalito, down through San Francisco, through the peninsula, down to Silicon Valley, down to San Jose, up and over to Oakland and Berkeley, down to Hayward. And they live in 2.5 million places. Some of those are single-family detached homes, some condos, some apartments. So basically, we got 2.5 million places we could live, and we got 5 days to find out where we are going to live. Next slide. Now, could we delegate this problem, as I currently describe it, to a realtor? Say, call up a realtor. This is where Harriet and I are in Bhutan in the Himalayas. I'm wearing a Go, she's wearing a Kira. We're off, still on our trip around the world. We haven't come back yet. Can we just say to a realtor, find us a place to live? Any problem with that, or can we do that? Can't we delegate this and get some help?
Yeah, they're gonna ask you for some parameters, so
Yeah, right now,
you still have to make decisions.
if we just say get a place, that is insufficient to be able to guide them to find out places which would make sense for us. So we're going to have to be more clear on what would be a good place and what would not. So right now, we don't have a problem which we really could delegate. Okay, it's just too ill-defined. Next. So, you're our consultants. What questions would you ask Harriet and me to help us make a wise choice on where we're going to live? I'm going to have you work in teams of 4, 4, 4, so sort of 4 3 at your table, separate out. You've got 2 minutes. What questions would you ask Harriet and me to help us make a good decision?